Spoilers will be featured in this video for the last episode of The Mandalorian, entitled The Siege. So if you have not seen the episode yet, please go do so before watching this video. Real quick, I would like to thank today's sponsor, the Baby Yoda holiday sweaters. If you would like to check out these limited Baby Yoda sweaters for the Christmas season, link will be in the description down below. Again, they are limited, so get them before they sell out. Now, let's get on with the video. In the last episode of The Mandalorian, we saw Mando infiltrate an Imperial base, returning to the planet of Navarro, having been commissioned by Greef Karga in order to help him rid the Imperials of the planet of Navarro entirely. When Mando first entered the base, they believed that it was simply an Imperial holdout, but once they entered the lab, they discovered that there were much more sinister hands at play. Specifically, there are some experiments that Mando and the other characters walk by, experiments that eerily resemble Supreme Leader Snoke from the sequel trilogy, and would line up with the plan of Palpatine that we learned in The Rise of Skywalker. Let's go ahead and get into it more in depth. Thanks to a holo recording, we learned that they want the child's DNA for his M count, or rather his midichlorian count, and that essentially the Empire's plan for Baby Yoda is to learn how to transfer one's force sensitivity to an experiment. The scientist calls these experiments volunteers, but it's clear that it's the Empire's goal to have them eventually be able to tap into and use the force. It should also be stated that the Dark Troopers that we see later in the episode with Moff Gideon are separate experiments from what we see in this Imperial holdout. As you can see in the episode, the experiments already resemble Supreme Leader Snoke. And more important than this, Snoke's theme even plays when the experiments are shown on screen, implying obviously that this was intentional and that the filmmakers wanted to evoke the feelings of Snoke. More interesting than this, Ben Solo's theme is also played along with this, indicating of course Supreme Leader Snoke's involvement in the training and eventual turn to the dark side of Ben Solo. I do not believe that this is the literal Snoke that we see in The Force Awakens as well as in The Last Jedi, but simply an earlier experiment of him. You can see that it has the crippled nature of Snoke, and we can now see attempting to give a being the Force can be a painful, long process. It's also important to note that likely Moff Gideon knows quite a bit about Emperor Palpatine's plan, and the fact that his Emperor may be out there somewhere, and that this base on Navarro was far more important to Palpatine than we all originally anticipated, and that now they're trying to use the child in order to create a being capable of using the Force. Because the child is so attuned to the Force already, it doesn't give us any hints at Baby Yoda's origins, but it does show us what the purpose of Baby Yoda was. Having Snoke be able to use the Force as a clone was always something that puzzled me in the sequel trilogy, as we hadn't really seen this before. In Legends, Grievous was actually attempted to be given the Force by Count Dooku, by transferring the blood of Sifo Dyas, a Jedi Master, into Grievous. A similar process that what appears to have occurred with the child in The Mandalorian, using the child's blood in order to give another individual a sensitivity and attunement to the Force. I think it's pretty clear that these are early signs of Snoke, and that the Emperor was attempting to develop Snoke as sort of a puppet far before his eventual return, and even far before The Force Awakens, and that The Mandalorian is attempting to address that, and fill in the plot hole of a being like Snoke being able to use the Force despite being a clone. I think some of the most interesting lines here is that it says that the experiments are actually volunteered, and we know to our current knowledge that Snoke was grown essentially from scratch, meaning of course that this is again likely an early version of Supreme Leader Snoke. What this could mean for the future of The Mandalorian, I'm not sure, but it would make sense that the Empire would attempt to develop this, and essentially would attempt to create an army of clones attuned to the Force completely subservient to the Empire, making them the dominant force in the galaxy. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this, and when do you think that this will be brought back up later in The Mandalorian? Do you think that this was the actual purpose of the base on Navarro? And was this an early version of Supreme Leader Snoke? Also, how much of Emperor Palpatine's plan do you think Moff Gideon is actually aware of? And do you think that he knows that the Emperor is alive somewhere out there? Again guys, be sure to check out the Baby Yoda sweaters. They're very limited and very cool. Link will be in the description down below. Also, leave your theories on what's to come in the future episodes of The Mandalorian. And do you think that Snoke could actually appear in some form in a later season, if not in season 2? There's so much that this second season has already set up, I can't imagine them addressing it all by the end of season 2. Anyway, my friends, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments down below. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.